conspiracy theories about assassination attempts, but I guess that's too much to ask from The View. I mean, I gotta ask you, because they said it, are you aware of any plots from Elon Musk to push President Trump down the stairs?
Absolutely not. Let me be unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show.
So White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt announced that the Associated Press has been banned from the Oval Office for not honoring the recent renaming of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Take a look.
Picture waking up thinking you're invincible. Then, boom, Karoline Leavitt delivers a verbal eviction notice right on national television. Whoopi Goldberg didn't just stumble, she suffered a meltdown so outrageous it made toddler tantrums look graceful. Was it iconic? It was practically Shakespearean in its tragic absurdity. What began with a smug eye roll exploded into the wildest public unraveling you've seen all week. And trust this, you won't want to miss a single second of this blazing spectacle.
Trump's new press secretary, Karoline Leavitt. The left pretends to be a champion of women until they find one who is a conservative. Once that happens, they love nothing more than tearing down women with the most petty and vacuous of insults. Leavitt appears to be a fierce operator, but she's also 27 and arguably quite glamorous. So of course, the kind and progressive voices at The View reacted to her appointment like this.
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though. It's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
This is the first.
Deep within the echo chamber known as The View, a storm was silently brewing. You could almost feel the static, like tension trapped in a balloon about to burst, inflated with nothing but unchecked ego and fake moral superiority. At the heart of this slow-moving catastrophe, Whoopi Goldberg herself, the self-proclaimed empress of daytime wisdom, marching headfirst into one of the most embarrassing moments of her career, all in high-definition clarity.
If you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about. Because President Trump was elected with a mandate from the American people to make this government more efficient. He campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them, with a great team around them, were going to look at the receipts.
It all began when Whoopi, oozing the kind of arrogance reserved for people who think TV airtime equals truth, decided to take a verbal swing at Karoline Leavitt, a name clearly too complex for Whoopi's insulated circle to comprehend. Maybe she thought she was dropping the mic, some effortless takedown? Maybe she pictured Karoline crumbling, sobbing, and filming an apology video in her car. But spoiler alert, that fantasy crashed harder than a cheap stage prop.
Young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason, because black people couldn't get into colleges.
But instead of silencing Karoline, Whoopi triggered a verbal smackdown so fierce, it practically deserves a national holiday. Karoline didn't just sit back like a timid guest on their chaotic couch of canned outrage, not a chance. She fired back with the precision of a military drone strike. Cool, distant, and absolutely devastating. One smug jab from Whoopi and boom! She ignited a response so powerful it left the entire panel blindsided and scrambling.
So, the White House Correspondents Association released a statement, and it said the White House cannot dictate how news organizations report the news, nor should it penalize working journalists because it is unhappy with their editors' decisions. And the AP is signaling legal action, calling this a violation of their First Amendment rights. Now,
and the most jaw-dropping part? Karoline didn't even set foot in that overhyped den of daytime drama. From a distance, maybe sipping iced coffee, she watched the circus unfold, then dropped a response so sharp it left the Views panel looking like they'd been sideswiped by a truckload of truth. You could almost hear the panic in Whoopi's mind when she realized this wasn't a pushover. Karoline wasn't there to bow under pressure or play nice with fake outrage. No, she did what few dare. She pulled the curtain on The View, revealing it as a cushy clubhouse where pampered elites pretend to understand real problems. And when the applause didn't come, that's when Whoopi unraveled. Wild eyes, flailing arms, and the kind of public spiral that gets people quietly escorted out of supermarkets. And when the collective angle, we assumed it meant that her ego had fallen apart because she didn't understand finances or realtors or something.
We had him go to the Oval Office yesterday, where I think he provided great answers. He was speaking in layman's terms, speaking common sense to all of you in the media, but also to Americans at home. But I would say especially to all of you in the media, because I think it's a real fallacy that there's this alleged lack of transparency when it comes to Doge. President Trump and Elon Musk have been incredibly transparent on what Doge is doing. There is an X account with the Doge handle. They are tweeting out what they are doing on a daily basis. They have a website where they are posting the receipts of the contracts that they are reviewing and the payments that they have stopped from going out the door. The secretaries of our departments have stopped from going out the door.
Picture Whoopi scrambling for a comeback, throwing out buzzwords like a broken vending machine. At one point, it felt like she'd yell, "Banana Republic, climate crisis, patriarchy," all in one breath, just to dodge the awkward silence. Joy Behar tried to chuckle it off with that nervous laugh you hear when someone realizes they just lit their credibility on fire. Sunny Hostin jumped in with a fact check so off track it could have been printed by a confused GPS. And Anna Navarro? She froze like a wax statue caught mid-glitch, silently praying for the segment to end. But here's what made it all so glorious. Karoline never interrupted, never yelled, never even smirked. Her presence alone shattered their egos like a glitter bomb packed with truth. They spent years building a bubble of back-padding and scripted outrage, and Karoline popped it without even stepping on set.
Conspiracy theories about assassination attempts, but I guess that's too much to ask from The View. I mean, I gotta ask you, because they said it, are you aware of any plots from Elon Musk to push President Trump down the stairs?
Absolutely not. Let me be unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show.
Whoopi's breakdown reached full combustion when she tried to flip the script and become the teacher, launching into a dramatic lecture about how Karoline's views were somehow dangerous, because, of course, free speech is only scary when it doesn't come with cue cards and applause signs. She waved her arms, leaned in with those exaggerated listen-up expressions, and delivered what might be the most clueless soliloquy in daytime TV history. But instead of cheers, she got awkward, scattered clapping, the kind you hear at a school concert when a kid drops their flute. Meanwhile, Karoline answered with calm, razor-sharp precision. No yelling, no theatrics, just a quiet dismantling of everything The View pretends to be. She tore through the smug millionaire act, the empty outrage, and the phony relatability with one clean sweep. And Whoopi, she flailed like someone yelling at their GPS, convinced it's wrong, even as it points straight to disaster.
Do know that you're walking into hostile territory, right?
Certainly do. And look, I think I'm well prepared for that. And I'm incredibly honored that President Trump has instilled confidence in me to speak on his behalf behind the White House podium. It's been an honor to have a front row seat to the greatest political comeback in history. And as you mentioned in your monologue, Sean, President Trump is putting together a brilliant cabinet of fantastic America First fighters, from Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are going to cut the waste out of our federal bureaucracy, to Susie Wiles, who is going to serve as the first female chief of staff in history. Take that, Mark Cuban, to Tom Homan. No one better to secure the border than him.
At one point, Whoopi seemed to think throwing around big words would somehow bury Karoline's argument, like yelling demagoguery with the confidence of a game show contestant who buzzed in without knowing the question. Then Joy Behar jumped in with her go-to move, loudly shouting, "You're wrong," without offering a single reason why. It was the kind of logic you'd expect from a kid denied dessert. Sunny chimed in too, quoting a study she couldn't name by someone she couldn't remember on a topic she clearly didn't understand. But hey, effort counts. Somewhere, a debate coach shed a single tear. And through it all, Karoline didn't just defend herself, she exposed the entire rotting foundation beneath the View. She voiced what viewers have whispered for years. This isn't a show for serious thought. It's a vanity lounge for personalities stuck in a time warp, echoing slogans over overpriced coffee. If you're not on their script, good luck finishing a sentence before you're drowned out by the pecking order.
Unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake up. They just paid $15 million to President Trump's future library. That's a great thing for the American people.
And it's not just the hosts, it's the entire ecosystem that fuels The View. The forced claps, the synchronized gasps, the smug self-congratulations after every segment, as if agreeing with each other qualifies as activism. Whoopi's downfall wasn't just a slip of the tongue, it was a full-blown crash of someone who thought her celebrity status made her invincible. She assumed a quick jab at Karoline would earn her applause and retweets. Instead, she revealed herself as another overpaid performer grasping for relevance like a reality star voted off in week 2. And the cleanup? A mess. The producers released a weak PR statement about spirited discussion, hoping no one noticed the intellectual train wreck that just happened. But Karoline? She stayed cool. No rants, no dramatics, just facts, logic, and perfectly placed verbal grenade. The View didn't just look out of touch. They looked prehistoric, screeching at the sky like cavemen seeing a flashlight.
Attacking a woman for her looks or age isn't very progressive. Let's bring in Sky News contributor Kosha Garda. Kosha, particularly that last clip that we played, it was so condescending. The way that she was scolding her as if she was a schoolgirl, suggesting she needed to do her homework. I find it so hypocritical when these so-called, caring, progressive voices just turn so nasty like that.
Yes, and as you mentioned, with conservative women, there's a long list of that, both of Trump's previous press secretaries, females, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Kayleigh McEnany, other figures like his campaign manager the first time, Kellyanne Conway, Sarah Palin very famously had to bear the brunt of a lot of this. So people are used to that. I think in their bubble of the audience that The View speaks to.
The real tragedy for Whoopi isn't just that she lost a televised exchange. It's that she accidentally revealed how flimsy her entire persona really is. Strip away the polished lighting and vague sound bites, and you're left with someone desperately clinging to a spotlight that's already moved on. Meanwhile, Karoline Leavitt didn't just come out on top, she claimed victory without breaking a sweat, leaving behind the crumbling stage of The View as her trophy. No screaming, no tears, no pity plays, just strength, clarity, and total composure as the whole show buckled under its own fake virtue. Honestly, Whoopi might want to retire the political rants and stick to what she does best, appearing in holiday specials nobody watches until the remote gets lost. Joy can keep laughing at ghosts, Sunny can keep citing mystery statistics, and Anna can keep pretending she's not texting her agent during every break. And the rest of us? We'll keep watching, popcorn in hand, as the most self-satisfied show on TV slowly and hilariously implodes on itself.
Crazy questions from the White House podium. How do you plan to deal with it?
Yes, I absolutely will. I feel prepared to do that. I've been facing the media now, speaking on behalf of President Trump on the campaign trail for the past couple of years, and we are expecting the media to be hostile. However, Kaylee, if you do talk to a lot of these reporters off the record, they will tell you they look forward to more press transparency and access. And while we will expose the fake news when they are fake, we will hold them accountable for their lies and smears of President Trump.
Karoline's mic drop moment wasn't just good, it was cinematic perfection. It was the kind of scorched earth line that belongs in a hall of fame for takedowns. Whoopi, fresh off one of her most hollow rants, complete with vague gestures and tired warnings about the state of America today, looked stunned. It was the type of speech that sounds deep until you realize it says absolutely nothing. And then came Karoline, cool, calm, probably wondering why she even had to explain the obvious. She delivered one line, just one, and it hit like thunder. Political analysts everywhere blinked and muttered, "Did she really just say that?" "Oh yes, she did." In a single sentence, Karoline unraveled Whoopi's tough girl act, tied it with a bow, and handed it back with the precision of a surgeon. You could practically see the color drain from Whoopi's face as it sank in. She had been completely outmatched by someone who wasn't even in the room. The rest of the panel scrambled to recover, but the damage had already been done.
The behavior of Democrats last night was completely disgraceful and demonstrated how severely out of touch they are with the American public. It was the most shameful moment in the history of presidential addresses in that beautiful chamber. In what was supposed to be a unifying moment for our country, Democrat members of Congress instead screamed at the President of the United States, who was just overwhelmingly reelected by their constituents, walked out of the chamber, and worst of all, they disrespected the American people.
Whoopi, now looking like she was trying to read a foreign language she'd never seen before, finally flubbed through a weak attempt at recovery. And like clockwork, The View's ever-ready PR team, those professional panic managers, jumped into action faster than a cat dodging water. But here's the kicker, their spin didn't just flop. It blew up in their faces. Nobody was buying the spirited debate excuse. Let's be honest, this wasn't a debate, it was a one-sided intellectual demolition. Karoline came in armed with facts, calm delivery, and surgical accuracy. The View's answer? Meltdowns, shrieking, and tantrums that made preschoolers look composed. The more they tried to patch it up, the more obvious the disaster became. But the real gut punch? It wasn't just that Whoopi stumbled, it was that The View's entire empire of smug, self-important commentary had never looked so hollow. And the most stunning twist? The wrecking ball didn't come from a sworn enemy. It came from someone who simply spoke the truth. No frills, no acting, no ego. What followed was a glorious slow-motion collapse. Whoopi tried to bury Karoline, but Karoline didn't just stand firm, she pulled back the curtain on the entire cast. And that, right there, is comedy at its sharpest and most satisfying.